Okay, let's talk about something that's, well, it's pretty unsettling. There's an invisible threat seeping into our lives, into the water we drink, the food we eat. They're called forever chemicals, and they have that name for a reason. They just don't break down, ever. And now the very agency that's supposed to protect us has just waved a whole new batch of them right into our food supply.
And I'm not being dramatic here. The stakes could not be higher. This isn't some far-off theoretical problem. The Conservation Law Foundation put it bluntly earlier this year. They said these decisions could be devastating for generations to come. This isn't just some environmental footnote. It's a massive, flashing red light for public health. So what exactly is happening? People are calling it a toxic turnabout. And it's a pretty fitting name for what looks like a shocking U-turn from our top environmental watchdog. So let's get into it.
Here it is, the main event, as reported by the Washington Post. This past November, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, gave the green light to new pesticides that are loaded with these forever chemicals. And we're not talking about some obscure industrial process here. We're talking about pesticides approved for the everyday foods we all eat. And the real kicker? This is happening at the exact same time that many states are scrambling to restrict these very same chemicals. But to really wrap your head around just how serious this is, we need to understand what we're dealing with. So what exactly are forever chemicals? The official name is PFAS, and it's not one thing. It's a huge family of thousands of different man-made chemicals. What they all have in common is this incredibly strong bond between carbon and fluorine atoms. It's like molecular superglue. That bond made them amazing for things like nonstick pans or waterproof gear. But it also means they're virtually indestructible. They just do not break down in nature. And here's the part that really gets me. They are already everywhere. The level of contamination is it's staggering. It's estimated that 97% of Americans already have PFAS in their bloodstream. They build up in our bodies, they move up the food chain, they're even passed from mother to child in the womb. We're all carrying this chemical load. And it's not just in our bodies. It's in the most critical resource we have, our water. A U.S. Geological Survey study from 2023 delivered this knockout punch. Nearly half of all the tap water in the United States is likely contaminated with at least one type of these forever chemicals. So every time you turn on the faucet, you could be taking in more.
So, okay, who cares? Why does it matter? Well, it matters because there is a mountain of scientific evidence linking PFAS to a truly terrifying list of health problems. I mean, look at this. Toxicologists are telling us we're looking at higher risks of kidney and testicular cancers, a suppressed immune system, which can make things like vaccines less effective, liver damage, hormonal problems, and major complications for unborn babies. These are life-changing, life-threatening conditions. So knowing all of that they last forever, that they're everywhere, that they're toxic, you would expect regulators to be incredibly careful, right? Instead, what we're seeing is the EPA basically throwing open the door and inviting more of them right into our food chain. Let's look at exactly how they're doing it.
So on November 22nd, 2025, the EPA gave the final okay for 2 new pesticides. Both of them fit the international definition of a PFAS chemical, and the impact is going to be right on our dinner plates. We're talking about chemicals that will be legally sprayed on broccoli, romaine lettuce, potatoes, corn, citrus fruits, the stuff we eat every single day. And the EPA is already saying at least 4 more are on the way.
So you're probably wondering, how is this even possible? How is this legal? Well, it all comes down to a deliberate, almost cynical regulatory loophole. See, the international scientific community has a really clear definition for PFAS. If a chemical has just one of these super strong carbon-fluorine bonds, it's a PFAS. But the EPA's pesticide office just made up its own, much narrower definition that requires 2 of them side by side. So because these new pesticides don't meet that very specific internal EPA definition, they can pretend they aren't PFAS, even though they behave and persist in the environment in the exact same way.
And the persistence of these new chemicals is just off the charts. One scientist, Nathan Donnelly, warned the EPA that these things have an environmental half-life of over 3 years. Just let that sink in. Half of what is sprayed on a field of broccoli today will still be in the soil and water 3 years from now, just building up season after season. He called the speed of these approvals PFAS pollution on steroids. But this whole mess doesn't just stop with pesticides. At the very same time, the EPA is chipping away at other protections. They're weakening the rules that would force companies to even report their PFAS use, basically making it easier to pollute in secret. And they're watering down and delaying proposed national standards for drinking water. That means millions of us will keep drinking contaminated tap water for years longer than we should have to. But this isn't happening in a vacuum. You have to zoom out. These rollbacks on forever chemicals are just one piece of a much bigger, much wider retreat from environmental and climate protections. And it's all happening at the exact moment that science is telling us we're out of time. I mean, just look at the world we're living in. The facts are impossible to ignore. 2023 was a record hot summer. 2024 smashed that record. And now 2025 has officially become the hottest summer ever recorded in the Northern Hemisphere. This isn't just numbers on a chart. It's deadly heat waves. It's raging wildfires. It's monster storms becoming the new normal.
And the policy whiplash, it's just staggering. It feels like just yesterday we were rejoining the Paris Agreement with big goals and investing in clean energy. And now, in 2025, the US is pulling out of that same agreement for a second time while actively speeding up the expansion of fossil fuels. We are flooring it in the exact opposite direction that science, and frankly survival, says we need to go.
So, who pays the price for all these decisions? The real cost of this retreat isn't going to be paid by us. It's going to be paid by the people who had no say in any of it, our children and their children after them. Our entire legacy is on the line right now. And it forces us all to ask a really profound and, honestly, a pretty uncomfortable moral question. When we knowingly allow a toxic chemical that lasts forever into our environment, when we lock in decades of planetary heating, what kind of world are we actually choosing to leave behind?
The burden we're creating is just immense, and it's lifelong. Exposure to these chemicals starts before a child is even born. Then they face a whole life of added health risks, a weaker immune system, developmental problems. As they grow up, they inherit a planet with a dangerously chaotic climate. And then future generations after them will be stuck managing this toxic chemical mess that we made, a mess they can never truly clean up. And when you boil it all down, it comes to this. The choices being made right now have permanent consequences. The carbon we pumped into the air locks in climate damage for centuries. The forever chemicals we release will poison the soil and water long, long after we're all gone. We are creating a permanent two-part legacy, a poisoned environment and a dangerously hot planet.
Look, this goes beyond regulations and politics. As one young activist said so powerfully, this is a fight for survival. It's nature fighting for itself. The decisions being made in quiet government offices today are going to echo for centuries. And the question for all of us is, what will those echoes say about what we did? What will we do right now to make sure the future actually has a voice?